This is fascinating. So here's Jimmy Dore. Speaking of Pornhub for psychopaths, I don't know what this thing is like. Putin sneaking up on him, giving him this whatever. Ukraine in full retreat, it says. Ukraine completely withdraws from Lysychansk. Not quite the same thing, right? I mean, it's not doing. It's as Jimmy Dore videos go. It's not doing particularly well. He's got 742 views on this thing. It's relatively new. 200 rumbles. This is not his primary audience or crowd. It's almost like he puts it up there just to cover his bases. I just want to show you. We don't have to do the whole thing because we know what his fucking take is. But I want to show you something. Right? Like let's give him 5 minutes. I don't even know how long this video is. Let's give him 5 minutes, and then I want to show you what I'm like when the response becomes awkward from the side you have chosen. Let's see. Oh, and this is an ad. Yes, that makes sense. Because Jimmy's an outdoor guy. Lysychansk. And by the way, if you're gonna be the world's preeminent Nazi hunter, you're gonna need to know the name of the cities that they're apparently hiding in. No, they have not. In key region, not in the Donbass, in a key region. Okay. Oh, there's no Jimmy audio? Sorry. Hold on. Back up. Let's go. This is him. Here you go.
So, just so you know.
Hold on. Wait, let me jump over here. We'll back up. What is that? I've got ghosts in my machine.
Ukrainian forces withdraw from Lysychansk. How do you say that?
Again.
Lysychansk.
Nobody's there to correct him, and nobody there knows. Just for the record. Also, can we also point out the fact that Jimmy is citing CNN again, which is not to be trusted corporate media that controls mind of thought and blah blah blah. And yeah, but still, it's just like this is the same shit Alex Jones does, same shit Russell Brand does. Never trust the mainstream media unless I can use the headline, not the body of the article or the content, of course, but if I can use the headline to sell some point of view.
Holdout in the key region. So Ukraine is now officially pulled out.
No, they didn't. Not like your father should have. I kid. Come on.
Of Donbass.
No, they have not fully pulled out of the Donbass.
So just so you know, this is the Donbass here. This is the part that the people here didn't want to go along with the coup that happened in 20.
Yes, the coup that happened in 20. Yeah, no, it didn't. There was no coup. The Ukrainians were pushing back against Russian control of their country. But again, let's. This is freedom fighters. This isn't that Russia is taking over Ukraine. Ukraine are the Israelis in this, and this is Palestine. Of course, Palestine that has a Palestinian country that is the largest territorial country on earth that they're allowed to go to and that they have, and that they are seizing other lands from. This falls apart. The analogy shit. But anyways, this is, he's reiterating, this is a bullshit talking point. Oh, this is only 5 minutes anyways. So he's just not even going to bother. All right.
In Ukraine. So these are the people who identify the Russian speakers that.
No, there are Russian speakers in there because as they seized territory, they brought their own people in.
Identify more with Russia. And this is called the Donbass.
Because I'm reading it here.
This is the city right here. So this is it.
No, this isn't it. If you'll notice, Lysychansk is here. This is just where the little fighting went on. This is not a territorial map of, okay, shall we bring up, let's see. Russian held territory map, June 5, let's see what we've got here. Let's see. Campaign assessment June 5th. Is there a map in this? Yeah, here you go. This is the actual controlled area. All this area, Jimmy is telling you that the Ukrainians have lost all this area because it's called the Donbass. This is where Lysychansk is, right here. This is the fighting is all the way back in this area. And also, this is an area they had previously controlled before February 24th. So the idea that they have somehow made it all the way across the fucking country is just dumb. Let me blow that up for you a little bit in case you've got a bad case of the Jimmy Dumbs. That's it right there. See the Lysychansk? See this right over here? See that area right there? That's where it is. There's a river all along here. The Russians are being held past that point. This is hardly outside of the Donetsk region. There is reported Ukrainian partisan warfare happening, meaning that there are satellite group of fighters in the center of this area fighting outward. Also, a bunch of Russian army depots and ammo storage places have been bombed to shit while the fighting is going along the front lines in this. This is by no... And remember, if you'll recall, Russia attacked from Belarus towards Kiev. This whole area, Sumy, this whole area was taken early and lost. Here's Kharkiv. There you go. That was gone too. Draw Alabama in there. All right. I mean, this is Jimmy's map. This is reality. Here's Jimmy's map. Jimmy thinks that they've lost the Donbass. This is how fucking stupid Jimmy is. It's not even about his like evil ideas and his grotesque takes on this kind of stuff. It's how, I mean, this is just stupid. Yeah, partisan warfare means that the area is controlled by Russians, but there is a significant fighting force of Ukrainians in there fighting against the Russians in the center of all this shit. That's what they mean by partisan warfare in that area. Okay.
So that's what we're talking about.
That's what he's talking about. That's what he thinks he's talking about.
Russia, there's Ukraine. Here's the part we're talking about.
Here's the part we're talking about. No, you're not. Fuckhead. You're talking about right here, right there, that one little piece that does not include any of this shit.
Russia has taken control of Lysychansk, the last city in the Luhansk region in eastern Ukraine that was still under Ukrainian control.
In the Luhansk region, right, the upper part. Yeah.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu reported to President...
Oh, yeah, and by the way, for the record, hold on. This will be good for Jimmy. Hold on. Sergei Shoigu. Jimmy will just like this. Sergei Shoigu, the Russian defense minister, makes $140,000 a year U.S. This is his house. And of course, it's there are records that it's owned by his daughter, who makes less money than he does. It's worth $18 million, but the records on it have disappeared. The saga of a multi-million-dollar pagoda-style mansion, allegedly tied to Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, has taken a new twist, with activists accusing the federal government's main real estate registry of altering documents linking the property to his immediate family. Opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who is also, Jimmy considers a Nazi, anti-corruption organization last month, published copies of documents from the registry showing that Shoigu's daughter, Ksenia, became the owner of the property in a prestigious village on Moscow's western outskirts in 2009 when she was 18 years old. It's like $1 million for every year she's been alive. But a funny thing happened to those documents retrieved from the database at Rosregister, the federal agency tasked with maintaining Russian real estate records. According to the same activist who posted the records, they have now disappeared. Almost like Alexei Navalny himself. But, whatever Shoigu says, it's true.
Vladimir Putin, that the military had taken over Lysychansk and
Lysychansk, you fuck.
A number of nearby settlements on Sunday, according to the country's Ministry of Defense. Ukraine's military announced Sunday that it had been forced to withdraw from the critical city.
And by the way, again, Jimmy takes this stuff and he puts it in Keynote, or he tells somebody to do it, and they type up, he like circles it on the paper, and whoever it is types it up and puts it in Keynote for him to flip through during the show. And he makes these letters red because he thinks that's meaningful.
In his nightly televised address to the nation, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the retreat from Lysychansk was motivated to save the lives of Ukrainian troops. But then he said this: "We will rebuild the walls, we will win back the land, and people must be protected above all else." That is
right. Yeah. And again, win back the land apparently is proof that the Jewish president of Ukraine is a Nazi, because they want the city that was theirs back from the people that took it forcibly, who have a giant country. Like, this is, yeah, he said Volodymyr. He's being a dick, I think. Well, actually, I take it back. I don't think he's being a dick. I think he's just stupid.
Happening. They are not going to rebuild the walls.
Yeah, they are.
And they will not win back the land. That is not happening. Luhansk is one of the two regions that form Donbass, the eastern part of the Ukraine, where the conflict between Ukraine and Russian-backed separatists started in 2014. They don't tell you why it started.
Because the people of Ukraine were tired of being run by a puppet government from Russia and decided to stand up. I'm sorry, they're Nazis. That's right. Because they, in 2014, when the Nazis took over and elected a Jew 4 years later. They're the sneakiest Nazis in the world.
It started because the United States helped institute a coup.
No, we didn't. Again, he fucking thinks this is a dunk. He's still doing this shit. I guess points for commitment?
With Nazis.
Nazis that would elect a Jew within 4 years.
Of the democratically elected government in Ukraine, and they installed a government that was more friendly to the European Union and less friendly to Russia.
What? Okay, so since when in the last 50 years has Nazis been more friendly to Europe rather than Russia, as far as white nationalism and with a socialist underpinning?
That's what happened. Then there was,
again, it hasn't, but
a peace agreement.
No, there wasn't. The Minsk agreement was, we get to keep the land we took, which they didn't live up to.
Minsk Accords, and Ukraine agreed to stop bombing people in Donbass.
And then they had 2 elections, and the Ukrainian people were like, fuck that. The guy who was still a Russian puppet agreed to that, and they took our land.
They didn't. They killed 14,000 more people over the next 8 years.
No, they didn't. There was a war there for the territory, back and forth, ongoing. Most of the civilians, by the way, there are 3,000 civilian deaths in that region since 2014. 2,000 of them were in the first 90 to 100 days of the clash. The rest of them have been soldiers.
And then Putin invaded to protect those people.
Yeah, that's what he did. So I see. I thought he was denazifying the place. He invaded to protect the people of the Donbass. Well, I just given him points for consistency. What?
The area has become the key centerpiece of Putin's military ambition in Ukraine after his troops failed to take over Kiev.
Why didn't you make the word failed red, Jimmy? I mean, obviously you made the 2014 red. And you didn't make Russian-backed separatists red. That's weird. The conflict between Ukraine, which is a country, and Russian-backed separatists started 2014. You made 2014 red, but not Russian-backed separatists. And you certainly didn't make Putin's military ambition in Ukraine after his troops failed, for example. Like, why aren't those words red? I'm just curious. I mean, from a King James Bible, Jesus only, Jesus's text is in red standard. I would think you just want, and if you're against war, you would want any act of war to fail. Would think.
Earlier this year. Let's remember what Colonel McGregor says was exactly so. Remember, they were saying, we're going to win. We're going to beat back. They just need some more arms and they can beat back. They're going to win against Russia. They were never going to win against Russia. We all knew how this was going to end. It had to end. And so what's going on now? What's going on? All those people died for nothing.
No, they saved their capital so far. Oh, and maybe the Russian soldiers who died for nothing. You mean the conscripts? Like, and by the way, just if you're getting all wound up because Jimmy is siding with the Russian government against the civilians in Ukraine, and just like these people have to die because they were taking up land that more people want to side with. I don't know what the fucking argument is there. And they're full of Nazis, mainly because they're full of Nazis and they deserve to die. Understand, he also doesn't believe there's a Uyghur genocide, and he also doesn't believe that the Tiananmen Square massacre happened. He thinks both of those things are contrived by the West. I'm not kidding. I mean that literally. I don't mean like he believes this kind of shit. He literally does not care or believe that Uyghurs are being put into forced sterilization, into labor camps and re-education camps, being used as slaves. Doesn't care. It's not worth its impact on the economy. And China's a communist country, so they should just be able to do whatever they want to their people. That's the rule. He really does. And Tiananmen Square was all bullshit drummed up by the West. I'm not kidding. He thinks that, or at least he thinks there's money in thinking it, which might be closer to true.
All the people that are being killed in Donbass and Ukraine are being killed for nothing because everybody knew how this was going to end when it started.
No, they didn't. As a matter of fact, when it started, everybody thought Russia was going to win in a matter of days. It was very possible they were going to take Kiev in 48 to 72 hours, or at least, in less than a week. And they got their fucking ass handed to them. And they are now all the way back to territory they had claimed initially and only border regions. And they're the second biggest military in the world.
And here's Colonel McGregor. Know that he didn't make general because he told the truth about the military.
Is that why?
And so he's now telling the truth about Ukraine. And here it is.
All right, this is the truth about Ukraine. Here it comes. This is it.
They're going to win, and they're destroying NATO. They're tearing Europe apart.
Destroying NATO? We just added 2 countries. All of the NATO countries are more committed than ever. As a matter of fact, they just expanded the alliance to recognize the geopolitical threat of China in Central Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. This is like Alex Jones the other day telling us that they're destroying the dollar.
Europeans are finally beginning to wake up to the disaster. They've lost control of Eastern Europe. You have the Lithuanians who want to cut the Russians off from East Prussia, or this place called Kaliningrad. You have Russian retired officers now calling for Putin to commit nuclear weapons to the defense of Kaliningrad. At the same time,
yeah, you mean on fucking Channel 1?
You have the Poles who continue to advocate for greater violence against Russia and greater support for the non-existent Ukrainian state because...
well, there you go. The non-existent Ukrainian state. I'm I'm beginning to think that he didn't make general because his head was lodged in his ass and he was unable to complete the final exam. What the fuck? I love that Jimmy thinks this is a source. He has to be a source, guys. Look at the books. I mean, they're in no particular order, and it's a mix of fiction and nonfiction, and it's a little haphazard. Not exactly the king of organization and stuff, but, you know, he looks like a guy that would have the exact same quilt draped over his one chair that Jimmy does.
Let's face it, Ukraine is now a failed state.
Look at him looking up. I mean, Ukraine is a failed state. A failed state. Seriously, this isn't even remotely close to reality. I mean, this is even beyond Jimmy's fucked up map. Honestly, they have a functioning government. They're still, even under attack from Russia, the second largest military in the world, they're still making grain deliveries and paying their bonds. Russia just defaulted on their national debt for the first time since 1917. The Ukrainians, however, are still paying their bills.
It's collapsed. People are being...
Again, well, look at him looking up. He said it. I mean, huh?
Pushed at gunpoint into Russian fire.
That's only the Russians that are killing each other. Hold on. Let's see if I can get this. Mm-hmm. These guys are shooting their fellow soldiers, apparently. And so that they can join a failed state. What does it say? What does it say about... Hold on. Get out of here, you silly thing. What does it say about Russia if Ukraine is a failed state and these motherfuckers would rather shoot their own fellow soldiers? Hold on. This is the... Okay, add will end in 29 seconds. Get out of here. Released by the Freedom of Russia Legion, the video depicts armed fighting in the forest in Ukraine. The two sides, formerly the same army, exchange gunfire, seen from the soldier's point of view. The camera points towards the butt of guns as the defector fires intermittently at the other Russians. A nearby grenade or missile then sends him to the ground. This is this part right here. This guy is defecting. He's firing on the dudes he was just fighting next to. Yeah. So, the Freedom of Russia Legion is a group of Russian defectors and a growing movement in Ukraine, as well as Putin's homeland. Applications for the squad are apparently off the scale. It's made up of Russian military personnel disguised as part of the Ukrainian armed forces. They fight with the letter L emblazoned on the uniform instead of the Z. Similarly, while Putin's slogan for his forces is "For Russia for Victory," the Legion slogan is "For Russia for Freedom." They also use a white and blue flag. Alexei Arestovich, who is the advisor to the head of the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's office and a military blogger, said of last month there were several dozen members of this the defective group. The defector group, I think is what they mean. I mean, they might be. I'm sure the Russians think they're defective. Speaking to Ukrainian reporters, he said, on the front line, they are fighting very well. There's several dozen. It's like a separate unit disguised as Ukrainian armed forces. The number of applications to the Legion, including the Russian army, is off the scale. They don't have time to consider it. I see how the Legion is marching across Russia. It's a failed state that Russian soldiers are leaving their own forces to join.
This whole thing is a disaster, but no one wants to admit failure because they know once they admit failure, they lose all credibility. Well, of course, obviously we could have.
It's a failed state, complete collapse.
Failed state, complete collapse. That's why the president is doing a nightly video address. Okay. Okay, he won't take. I keep finding sources, and he's just gonna ignore. Let's see. Let me find a. Well, this is just CNBC. Ukrainians try to hold back Russians at the Donetsk border. Moscow angry after Putin. Macron calls details are revealed. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said that an air alert was announced over the entirety of Ukraine last night, raising civilian anxiety. Meanwhile, in Russia, the parliament has given its initial approval to measures that put Russia's economy on war footing. Because that's what you do if you're just kicking ass and the place you're fighting in has just collapsed. You move on to a war footing. Sloviansk, a city in Donetsk that has found itself on the front line of Russian forces' advance, has become the focus of Russian aggression in recent days. The British Defense Ministry said the battle for the city will be the next key for Ukraine. The city's mayor has urged civilians to evacuate. This is older, too, I think, isn't it? No, this is July 6th. Russia has turned its attention to capturing more parts of the Donetsk region of the Donbass, having already seized the neighboring Luhansk province. Donetsk is now experiencing heavy shelling, the same strategy the Russian forces used in Luhansk, Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, and Bakhmut, and are now Russia's key targets. Despite a slew of coordinated global sanctions, Russia still brings in about $1 billion a day in export revenues from oil and gas. In the recent, by the way, there were $3 billion a day about a month ago. In the weeks since Russia invaded Ukraine, Washington and its allies have imposed a round of coordinated penalties. However, Russia still receives significant revenues from oil and gas. There's the oil and gas revenue, oil and gas revenue, expenditures. Oil and gas revenue, expenditures. Oil and gas revenue, expenditures. One would think, here's your expenditures. Your oil and gas revenue January to May 2021 and January to May 2022, it's gone up, but your expenditures have kind of gone up. Overall revenue for the whole country is just above this line. So look how there is almost nothing else made. Like there is no overhead. There is nothing left over. That's why they're on a war footing. The people found that oil and gas accounted for 47% of Russia's revenues from January to May this year. And while Russian oil production fell in April, revenues increased by 80%. For comparison, Russia's fiscal data suggests that Moscow spent $325 million per day on military expenditures in April, the latest data available, referencing Moscow's ability to still finance the war in Ukraine. They also have an entire other country that's gigantic to finance. There's not a lot of money left over, is my point. Celebrity revenue manager, okay, Jose Andres, there you go. So this is, hold on. There is, let's see. This is 10 hours ago. Yeah. This is from the Donetsk region. Let me see if I can bring this up in a second. Yeah, that is a Russian ammo storage facility. Massive collision of Russian ammo warehouse hit in the Donetsk region. One of the reasons why the fighting is pulled back some is because this part of the campaign is happening from the Ukrainian side. That is enormous. That's bullets that aren't going to be coming the Ukrainians' way. That's missiles that aren't going to be launched. That's mortars that aren't going to be fired. That I'm voting for. That's the failed state part, but we'll see. All right. Anyways, and by the way, is Jimmy alone in the studio today? Did everybody just abandon him? Is he just a sad old fart screaming, "Let the Russians kill them" by himself in his garage, in his $1.4 million house with, I guess that makes a $300,000 garage?
And Zelensky says, we're going to get this land back. It's, So there you go. Ukraine officially pulling out.
No, not officially. Totally dumb. Ridiculous. Now, keep in mind, I want to let him finish. He's got like 20 seconds left. I'm going to let him finish this, and then I'm going to show you the newest statement from the Chechen leader of the Russian forces. And remember that Jimmy is on that guy's side. He thinks that guy is going to win, deserves to win. It's inevitable, and nobody should even try to stop them from winning because it's a waste of time and money.
So I don't know how much longer they want to have their citizens be killed, because that's all this is doing, is making more people get killed. We're going to Chicago.
Also, no, you're not. And okay, so let's jump straight to this dude. Hi. So this guy is a leader of the Chechen forces in Ukraine. This is from the area Jimmy was just bragging the Russians have taken. Okay. It's about a minute. This is adorable. Inshallah, there should be no doubt, is how this starts.
Иншаллах, дальше вообще сомнений не должно быть. И Донецкая народная
The DPR, Mykolaiv, Kherson. Hold on, let me bring this down a little bit because he's very loud. Odessa.
Республика, и Николаевск, и Херсон, и Одесса.
Until Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin stops us, until Putin says, call it off.
Владимир Владимирович Путин не остановит нас.
Inshallah, we'll get to Berlin. I mean, they're really committed to this denazification so much that they're going to Germany. I don't know if they expect to use a time machine, but we'll get to Berlin, he says.
Иншаллах, дойдем до Берлина и победим.
We will win, no doubt about it.
В этом нет сомнений.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy was saying. Ahmad is power, Allahu Akbar. There you go.
Ahmad! Allahu Akbar! Президент Владимир Владимирович Путин.
President Putin today, Ramzan Ivanovich Kadyrov, our brothers are defending Islam first and foremost. So Tucker Carlson and the whole, Russia's a Christian nationalist state, and that's why they can be trusted to do the right thing, and it's better if they... Yeah. First and foremost. I'm sure Putin's glad to hear that. Our brothers are defending Islam first and foremost. They're defending values like keeping women out of school. All right. Defending the greatness of the Almighty. I guess that I assume he means Putin. Kadyrov, the head of the Chechnya, is playing a big part in this jihad. That's him. He's on the patch. It's a lovely, it's nice. It's a quality patch. I think it's funny that is that the Russian word for nonce? All right. All of us are under his command. First of all, it's about faith in the Almighty. It's about our spiritual values and our language. Our language. Huh. I'm just saying that I don't think Jimmy's argument was that the Chechen, that they were Chechen separatists in the Donbass. Yeah. So anyways, this is Jimmy's backing this dude in the same way that he's backing the Houthis in Yemen, apparently, who he, on the one hand, believes should be able to attack Saudi Arabia, but at the same time believes that Saudi Arabia should be able to wipe them out because yeah, those guys. Those are the guys that Jimmy is fighting in support of as well, just for the record. And then, of course, I guess Bashar al-Assad, where, one of the few countries in that region where you can still buy stamps with Hitler on them. Yeah, the Chechen language. Honest to God, I don't know what the fuck. Yeah. Right. Yes, that was a Nazi salute. You are correct. This is those are the Houthis saying death to America, curse the Jews. Yeah. Adorable. He's live right now. He is. Oh, hang on. Shall we do a drop in? Let's see. Yeah. Or does he only do it on like, you have to be a member or some shit of his site? There he goes. This is, no. Apparently, he is they take breaks. Is he back? Is it, we'll be back momentarily? Can you not, do you have to slide back here, or what happens? I mean, maybe he is running it by himself. Oh, he's back. Hold on. Let's see what the big pickup is. We'll do a drop in, see what he's talking about.
Oh, different story. Okay, ready. So it turns out Gallup did a poll, and they found out, when's this from? This is from July 5th. Confidence in U.S. institutions down. Average at a new low. It's a weird metrics to just say institutions, but they have 14 institutions, things like the news media and small business, and the Supreme Court, government. Those are things that they call an institution. And so...
and this is something to be happy about?
Less confident in major U.S. institutions than they were a year ago. So I thought Joe Biden was elected president. He was supposed to restore our faith in institutions. He's not.
Well, he can't do that because you assholes voted to let Donald Trump run the place, and he put, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Barrett on the Supreme Court, which would shockingly, right?
Well, it's institutions.
Also, there's difficulty in Congress because the Jim Jordans and people like that are still in office, and Trump isn't behind bars. There's a split in reasons, I'm sure.
Fauci prayer candles are down. I know that. Average confidence was at least. Listen to this number. This is from Gallup. They say the average confidence was at least 40% from 1979 to 1990. Not even half. And that was the good years. Those are the good times.
That's because half people don't like it because it doesn't go far enough. Half of them don't like it because it goes too far. That doesn't mean they don't like the existence of them. And it's not fair to say that they don't believe in uniform that they shouldn't exist. This is like the ACA garbage.
From 40 to 27% of U.S. adults express a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in those 14 institutions. And that's 3 points below the prior low from 2014. 27% of the United States people express a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in those institutions. Did they just start working at those institutions?
Oh, you forgot quite a lot.
Quite.
I would say they're about
so Kurt gets to hide behind the thing again.
30 points below the average IQ.
Yeah. The largest declines in confidence are 11 percentage points for the Supreme Court.
Right, which brings the whole number down.
and 15 points for the presidency. I thought he was supposed to return our confidence in the presidency. No, 15 points down.
Because more people think he can and should go further, and a bunch of Republicans, which watch this show, hate his guts.
The military is the only institution besides small business for which a majority of Americans express confidence, and that's only because Top Gun's out. Confidence in the police at 45%, and has fallen below the majority level for only the second time, with the other instance occurring in 2020 in the weeks after the death of George Floyd.
No quip, no. You don't understand why people would feel that way?
In confidence for all three branches of the federal government. The Supreme Court, 25%. The presidency, lower than the Supreme Court.
Everybody hates the Supreme Court right now. That's crazy.
Well, the idea isn't that they don't like the president. It's the institution of the presidency, what it can and cannot do.
Or organized religion, newspapers, the criminal justice system, and big business. Boy, who are the 14 people who still have high confidence in big business? 14%? I'm going to guess that's Jeff Bezos' family, Bill Gates' family.
And
so
Fauci.
Said Fauci's family. So here, I'm going to show you what this is. You don't have to see it. It says, now, this is the question they asked. It says, now I'm going to read you a list of institutions in American society. Please tell me how much confidence you yourself have in each one. A great deal, quite a lot, some are very little. So this is the survey we've been talking about. So I'm going to...
Yes, we get that. All right, this is just boring. That's what the show is. I only watch the clips that they post when we talk about them sometimes. That's how it goes. That's what they spend their time on. That's a whole segment. Jesus Christ. Like, I understand when I have to do it. You know, because that they post something and it's supposedly selling some sort of ideology or some talking point, so we have to, deal with it and look at it. But I mean, that's what my choices of material are based on, is sort of the limited availability of certain, talking points, ideas, and stuff put forward.